Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Welsh, and I work as an education specialist and field associate for Willistown Conservation Trust in southeastern Pennsylvania. I couldn't be there today, but I'd like to share a snapshot of what my experience with Motus through education has been like. I'm based at Rushton Woods Preserve in Newtown Square. Rushton is one of the primary program sites for Willistown Conservation Trust, a land trust that has protected over 7,500 acres of wildlife habitat and agricultural ground in the developing suburbs west of Philadelphia. Rushton hosts a banding station operated by the Trust Bird Conservation Program, which works to promote bird conservation in part by inviting the public to observe our banding operation during the spring and fall migration periods. The bulk of my experience with Motus has been part of the Northeast Motus Collaboration. It's a regional partnership which has worked since 2017 to expand the interior array of Motus receiving stations in the northeastern United States. In my experience, opportunities to use Motus data and research for educational purposes have largely been exploratory. For my master's capstone project at the University of Pennsylvania, I piloted migration education activities developed by Liza Barney from Birds Canada to see how Motus collaborators with a focus on education might partner with schools in their community. Through the Trust Banding Station, I was able to connect with Westtown School, a local K-12 boarding school already familiar with our programming and with whom we wanted to further develop our relationship. Part of my project involved installing a receiving station on their campus. I was then connected with the upper school scientific research teacher who used this partnership to connect her students with local conservation professionals and expose them to field research. Students prepared to visit Rushton by establishing context using some of the materials developed by Birds Canada. The field element then helps students gain an appreciation for the vast effort that goes into conducting research on this scale, develop personal connections to their local environment and wildlife, and ultimately translate these experiences for other students and educators within their community. In 2020, I started working under a grant from the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Working around COVID restrictions, I conducted virtual pilot workshops to introduce Motus and the available resources to both formal and informal educators in Pennsylvania and the Northeast Motus Collaboration's extended network. I also built on Liza's work and drafted a species case study that used Motus detection data from a wood thrush tagging project conducted at Rushton. For the 2020-2021 school year, I again worked with Westtown as a project mentor for the scientific research class. I worked virtually with the student to help him explore topics related to migratory bird conservation so he could develop an independent research project. The student recognized that creating awareness and fostering connection are challenges to inspiring conservation action. So we developed content for the school's webpage to highlight Westtown's partnership with the Trust and Motus, and worked with teachers in other divisions to foster student interest in the campus habitat and biodiversity. I also worked with an 8th grade science team from AIM Academy to develop a learning module with a social emotional emphasis. I co-facilitated virtual and in-person lessons to provide background knowledge and foster connection by teaching students about a resident species using the wood thrush case study in combination with the book Flute's Journey. The module culminated with students making creative PSAs in support of 7 actions that can help migratory birds as part of a conservation campaign. Prior to my work with Motus, most of my experience educating about birds was due to the interpretive nature of our work at the banding station. If those public interactions, my experiences with teachers, and my own experience as an educator have taught me anything, the wealth of knowledge and opportunities to teach about birds, while abundant, can also be overwhelming. So in both of my experiences, being available to help teachers bridge the knowledge gap between basic understanding of birds and something as technical as Motus was critical for developing meaningful project-based experiences. As far as connecting with potential partner schools, having pre-existing connections didn't necessarily guarantee I had enthusiastic participants. It took a lot of relationship building to pave the way for such a niche opportunity. Much like how the physical Motus network has developed through collaboration and example setting, finding ways to support and highlight champion teachers and their successes would go a long way towards seeing Motus education integrated into early and secondary education. On the flip side, for those that are ready and willing, Motus presents a wealth of opportunities for educators, researchers, conservation professionals, and anyone concerned about migratory wildlife to connect and collaborate beyond geographic boundaries. Connecting classrooms, co-developing resources that educate about the full annual cycle of species in need of conservation action. There are so many opportunities to not only access, but also stretch conservation education dollars that can be hard for smaller organizations or efforts to obtain. Ultimately, we hope that educators will see Motus as another resource in the development of environmental literacy. Birds are one of the most significant and captivating ecological indicators. By connecting more educators and students with birds through Motus, We hope to change how people view and inhabit the environment. If you have any questions or would like to connect, feel free to reach out to me. You can also access information about these projects and education resources at the Northeast Motus Collaborations webpage.